We have 5 important stories that we need to talk about that happened in cruise news this week. It's the Week in Review, cruise news style, coming up next. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Cruise Seekers. This is Rob speaking, and we are doing a brand new weekly type of programming, I guess you would call it, called the Week in Review Cruise News. So, this was a little thing that I decided to kind of throw out to the community. If you're not a member of the community, please think about subscribing. Hit the little notification button below, and you will get these little questions that I will pop off here and there in our community section. We put a poll out and I said, what kind of weekly content would you folks like to see? And the winner, by a pretty good margin, was a week in review of cruise news. Not the daily type of stuff, just a week in review of the important stuff that you need to know. So this is what it is, folks. This is the first edition of it. I hope you enjoy it. We got 5 stories, 3 from Royal Caribbean, 1 from Carnival, and 1 from MSC. Let's get right into it. All right, so the big news this week, of course, was Royal Caribbean's new health protocols. The new healthcare protocols from Royal Caribbean is something that a lot of people have been anxiously awaiting for. You know, there's been a lot of changes with a lot of other cruise lines that were more open, let's say, right, than Royal Caribbean's, with especially when it came to testing. But this week, Royal Caribbean decided to not only change their protocols in a minor way, they did it in a pretty major way. So let's talk about the exact changes. So starting September 5th, any Royal Caribbean sailings that's not going to Canada or Bermuda, this applies to you if your sailing is 9 nights or less. First off, everybody is welcome, whether you be vaccinated or unvaccinated. That's pretty big. We're getting to that point where it just doesn't matter. It's your own choice. If you're not vaccinated, come on board. If you're vaccinated, come on board. Now, where the difference is between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated folks, if you're 5 years or older, you are going to be needing to take a pre-cruise test. But if you are vaccinated, no testing for you. Just come on board. That's pretty much as close to as where you were before, this whole pandemic thing happened. You just booked your cruise, you got on board. Now, of course, you have to kind of declare your vaccination status and prove it. So that's one thing, right? You're going to have to show your vaccination card so that you don't have to test, but that's it. Nothing more than that. Now, here's the real kicker for those people who are unvaccinated that are taking the test. You're going to have to take this test 3 days before you actually leave. Now, this test can be the normal proctor test that we've all grown accustomed to, where you basically go in front of a web application or you go to a service provider and you get a test and you get a certification from that test that you are COVID negative. You'll then bring that certification, whether it be a hard copy or something on a digital form, such as on your phone, and they will take a look at it and make sure that everything was okay, and off you go. The difference is in this new protocol is it doesn't have to be proctored. You can do it yourself. You can do it on your own. You can take a picture of the test. You can bring the test and say, look, negative. That's the way it will work. That's it. It's basically the honor system. And I know that's going to throw a lot of people into a tizzy, right? Because, we all know human nature, there's going to be a small population that is going to just take advantage of the honor system. It's going to happen. Whether it be they decide, you know what, I'm not going to take the test at all. I'll just download a picture of someone's test from the internet, or having a friend take the test, or I'm going to just swab my forehead. Who knows what they're going to do? But there's going to be a small population that's going to game the situation. We know this. It's human nature. It's going to happen. Rest assured, it's going to happen. But you know what? Me personally, I don't care. I'm fully vaccinated. I take my boosters. I am going to take the booster in September when they're going to add the new, Omicron variants into the booster shot to protect myself from that. So if someone does this, I don't care, because most likely if I do catch COVID, it's going to be asymptomatic or it's going to be very, very mild. That's what I'm expecting, being vaccinated and boosted the way I like to do it. Now, the funny thing is the people that probably are going to be most concerned about people doing this are the people that have to take the test anyway, the people who are not vaccinated, right? Because they are the ones that are most susceptible to severe disease. Now, I understand the new variants, they're nowhere near as bad as like the Delta was or any of the original variants were. People are, getting better from this. But I also know people are still going to the hospital with this, even with the milder strains. It does happen. People are still dying with this. It does happen. It is predominantly amongst the unvaccinated. Now, yes, even the vaccinated can get severely ill. Yes, they can. It all depends upon a whole host of different factors, right? They can have other outlying issues that can be exacerbated by COVID. There's a lot of reasons why, if you are in a group of people that even if you are vaccinated and you are worried about still catching COVID for a multitude of reasons, this change in protocol can really affect you. So you have to think hard, is cruising right for you with these new protocols? Only you can make that decision, right? You have to make that decision. I don't think cruising is giving you any more danger with these protocols than, say, going to a grocery store or going to a hotel or getting on a plane, any of those type of things. But, you still have to make that choice. This is the next step forward in, the whole dance with COVID over the last 2 years. Hopefully, this dance is going to end soon and we'll be 100% back to normal. Alrighty. Cruise story number 2, again with Royal Caribbean. Recently, Royal Caribbean just announced that they are going to be increasing their onboard per day service fees, auto-gratuities, whatever you want to call it. So these auto-gratuities are going to go up from $14.50 per person per night if you are in a junior suite or lower to, drumroll please, an extra $1.50 to $16 per person per night if you're in a cabin of a junior suite or lower. Now, if you're in a grand suite or larger, you're going from the $17.50 that you were before to $18.50. Now, if you did pre-purchase your gratuities ahead of time, you don't get affected by this at all. You paid your gratuities upfront when you booked, taken care of. This just gives you another reason when you book, you might want to put on the prepaid gratuities right then and there. It kind of protects you from these increases. But, it's still not a lot of money. If you're in a grand suite or above, for 2 people on a 7-night cruise, it's only an extra $14. And really, what is an extra $14 if you're paying about $5,000 for the room anyway? It's not a huge amount of money in comparison when you look at the two. And if you're on a junior suite or below, it's going to cost an extra $21 for 2 people on a 7-night cruise. Again, it's not like earth-shattering numbers of money, so it's nothing huge. And the final story from Royal Caribbean this week is with their future cruise credits. So during a recent conversation with travel agents, Royal Caribbean did outline a new change that's coming our way with future cruise credits. Basically, if you are booking a cruise with future cruise credits, with a future cruise credit certificate, what's going to happen is that future cruise credit is going to be applied to your new booking. Now, if by any chance that future cruise credit certificate is more money than what the cost of the booking is, Royal Caribbean is not going to issue a new future cruise credit for the difference. So what they're going to do is, instead of issuing another future cruise credit for the difference, what's going to happen is any leftover balance in that certificate is going to be applied to that cruise booking as onboard credit. As an example, say you have a future cruise certificate for $4,000 and you're right now doing a booking for a cruise that's costing you $2,800. You'll have a $1,200 difference between your booking cost versus the future cruise credit voucher that you have. So now what Royal Caribbean is going to do is take that $1,200 and instead of issuing a new future cruise credit certificate for that $1,200, what they're going to do is give you $1,200 of onboard credit for you to use on that cruise that you just booked. Royal Caribbean is basically doing this to get the future cruise credits off their accounting books. They're basically an IOU. It's something that Royal Caribbean has to reserve money for to make sure that they have enough money to kind of make sure that those people can go on the cruise and they can cover the expense of that cruise. Royal Caribbean can't spend that money. It's money that is owed. So in order to get that money off their books, they are basically making you take onboard credit at that time. There's not a lot of information on how that onboard credit is going to be issued. I don't know if it's going to be a non-refundable onboard credit or a refundable onboard credit. I have no clue. Hopefully we'll get a real fully defined piece of information that will show up on their website soon. The next 2 things are not as significant, but they're pretty important because 1, Carnival this week announced their new ability to book cruises on the Carnival Luminosa. So Carnival is this big umbrella of cruising corporations, one of them being Carnival Cruise Lines and another one being Costa Cruise Lines. Costa is transferring a vessel from their line over to the Carnival Cruise Line, the Luminosa. Finally, on the Carnival website, for your booking of Carnival Cruise Line cruises, you can now book the Luminosa. The Luminosa is going to have home ports mainly in Australia, but the Luminosa is also going to spend some time during the summer over in the west coast of the United States to do Alaska cruises. Plus, you can book the Trans-Pacific cruises for the Luminosa, going from Australia up to Seattle and vice versa, from Seattle going back to Australia. Now, these two cruises, the Trans-Pacific, are going to be some of the longest cruises Carnival has ever offered. And the one going back to Australia is the longest one, period. 30 days on board the Carnival Luminosa going from Seattle. You'll do some stops in Alaska, and then you'll start heading across the ocean, crossing the international date line. You'll then also stop in Japan for a few stops. You'll also go to the Philippines. You'll also go to Indonesia, finally finishing up down in Brisbane, Australia. And finally, the last story for this week is on MSC Seascape. Their newest ship is about ready to be delivered. They just finished their sea trials. Right now, the Seascape is getting its final touches from the shipyard before the final delivery, getting ready for its inaugural sail from Rome. That inaugural sail will happen on November 19th. It'll do some stops in the Mediterranean as it gets ready to go across the Atlantic and into New York City. If I didn't have that October 29th cruise, I might have given this a second thought and maybe even done it. But if you have the option, hey, it's a great price. Take a look on MSC's Cruise Line's website. It's leaving from Rome on the Seascape. Take a look at it. The price I thought was really, really, really good for such a cruise. Now, I'm not a big proponent of going on a cruise ship for their inaugural voyages. There's usually a ton of kinks that these ships need to kind of work out. The staff are doing their jobs for the first time with passengers on board. There's a lot of, it's a dance, really. It's a real big dance that a cruise ship, logistically that is. So, there's going to be times when during that dance, the feet are going to get tangled up and there's going to be some stumbles and some falls. So if you want like a real polished cruise, you never really want to go on an inaugural voyage. You just don't. So there you go, folks. That's our first installment of the Week in Review Cruise News Style. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below on any one of the stories down below. Are you annoyed about the new protocols from Royal Caribbean? Do you really like them? Are you going to book MSC Seascape? Are you going to book Carnival's new Luminosa for their cruises? Are you going to go on one of these long Trans-Pacific or Transatlantic cruises from MSC or Carnival with their new cruise ships? Let us know. We're doing a lot of new stuff here at Cruise Seekers, so if you want to be part of the new crew, definitely subscribe, turn that notification bell on. Thanks in advance. So again, this is Rob from Cruise Seekers, reminding each and every one of you out there to always seek the seas. Bye now.